Dedication through light and darkness. Sunset versus Twilight. Round 1. The afternoon sun was obscured by the clouds, brief waves of light shining down on Caroline High. On the back fields, crowds rustling in the wind at her feet. Sunset looked over at the crystal prep fence. Twilight rose to her feet, pushed her glasses up, and walked down to the field. Sunset watched her go, eyes wide. I'm dueling Twilight? Will the Captain of High Duelist please take a position on the field? Sunset jerked at the loudspeaker and jogged up to her side of the field. Opposite her, Twilight reached down and activated her dual disc. Card tray presenting a beam of purple light. Sunset looked down at her own disc and turned it on. The material tray swinging into place. She raised her head and took a breath. Hey! Twilight looked up at her. Sunset nodded. Made you just duelist win, right? Twilight's toes twitched. Indeed. And now, let the final duel of the day begin! Sunset life points 8,000. Twilight points 8,000. The portraits on the display screen stopped when Sunset lit up. Sunset Simmer will take the first move. Right. Sunset looked at her deck as her opening hand ejected. She reached down and fanned out her cards. I summon Harmony Garden Magnanimity! A shimmering mirrored portal appeared on the ground in front of her. From it rose a pale-skinned warrior woman in jagged, crystalline blue armor. She spun on one foot and reached her waist to raise her rapier, brandishing it twice and planting the tip on the ground. Attack points 1,200. Sunset took a deep breath, looked up at Twilight. The other girl just watched her, waiting. She's not Twilight. She's not Twilight. Sunset looked at 2 cards from her hand and held them out. Using the Scale 3 Harmony Guardian Gracious and the Scale 5 Harmony Guardian Magia, I set the pendulum scales. She swung her hand and placed the cards on the far ends of her dual disc. The disc lit up in red light and gleamed. 2 columns of light, one pale pink and one lavender, rose on either side of Sunset. In the pink column rose the warrior woman in rounded pink armor, a pair of crossbows hanging from her waist. In the purple column was a warrior in smurf purple armor and a gnarled wooden staff strapped to her back. Using the cards in my pendulum scales, I can now special summon monsters from my hand or face up in the extra deck, as long as their levels fall within the scales, Sunset announced. She held up her cards. In the pillars of light above, Reese's and Magia held up their hands, sent the beams of light that swirled together to form a portal in the air. Pendulum summon! She brought her hand down, placed the cards on her disc. From my hand, I summon Harmony Guardian Gracia and Harmony Guardian Honeystaff! The portal above Sunset flashed, and 2 streaks of light shot out and impacted her field. For one came a warrior in green armor, carved in the shape of forest plants, pink hair streaming down her back. She showed a colorful whip coiled at her waist, and it unfurled from her hand. Attack points 900. The air light faded to reveal a warrior in bulky orange armor, kneeling behind a large broadsword embedded in the ground. She stood up and lifted up the sword, dirt flying as she swung it twice and rested on her shoulder. Attack points 1,800. Magnanimity lit up blue between the 2 monsters. When I special summon a Harmony Guardian monster while Magnanimity is on the field, I can activate her effect and draw 1 card. Sunset drew and flipped her card over. I'll activate it immediately. The spell card, Harmony Jewel! This lets me send Gracia from the field to face up on my extra deck. In return, I draw a card. Sunset withdrew Gracia's card from her disc. It slid into the extra deck slot. Then reached her deck and drew. I activate the effect of Magia in my Pendulum Zone. Once per turn, I have 2 Guardian monsters in my Pendulum Zones. I can revive a Harmony spell card in my graveyard to my hand, but I can't activate for the rest of the turn. I'll take back the Harmony Jewel I just used. Sunset removed Harmony Jewel from her grave slot. And then, I used Harmony Guardian Gracious' Pendulum effect, letting me return a card from my side of the field to my hand. I'll take back Harmony Guardian Magia. The pillar of purple light faded as Magia turned into an orb of light and swirled to the ground. I set 1 card and end my turn. Sunset lowered her dual disc. Across the field, Twilight drew her first card. Very well. She looked at her drawn card and reached over to her hand. I activate the spell card, Solar Recharge. I will discard Garth, my Sworn Warrior, to draw 2 cards, and then drop the 2 cards of my deck are discarded. Twilight looked at her 2 cards from her deck, and 2 more retracted her dual disc. I summon Luminia, Light Sworn Summoner! Twilight placed the card on her dual disc. Rays of light shone from the ground as a woman in white robes materialized. Scars fluttered in the air. Attack points 1,000. I then use Limini as effect. By sending Felus, Lightsworn Archer, from my hand to my graveyard, I can revive Garth. Next to Lumia appeared a man in gleaming white and gold armor, a large pole arm in his hands. Attack points 1850. Twilight leans forward. Garth! Attack Harmony Guardian Magnanimity! Garth lifted his pole arm and charged across the field, the tip pointing at Magnanimity. I activate my face down spell card! Sunset swept her hand out. It's a quick play spell card called Harmony Shock. I can activate it by sending a Harmony Guardian on the field to the extra deck. Once I do, I can destroy a card in the field. I send Hanistus to the deck and destroy Garth! Hanistus faded away, leaving an orb of electricity behind. The orb shot to Garth's pole arm, making him convulsive collapse, shattering his hit to the ground. Twilight frowned and reached to the back of her hand. I set 2 cards and end my turn. The 2 holograms materialized in front of her. Laminia lit up in a golden aura. At the end of each of my turns, Laminia sends the top 3 cards from my deck to the graveyard. Twilight's 3 cards were charged into her disc. The light came from her graveyard slot. She looked at her screen and extended a finger to the tapping icon. The effect of Wolf Lightsworn Beast activates since he was discarded by a Lightsworn effect. I summon Wolf to the field. A glowing portal appeared next to Lumia, and the anthropomorphic wolf in white and gold armor stepped out. A large axe over his shoulder. Attack points 2100. Twilight's deck, 27 cards. Twilight loaded her dual disc. Your move. Thanks. Sunset drew, turned her card over and smiled. I activate the spell card, Harmony Journal! A large brown book appeared in front of Sunset, its cover bearing a shield emblem with 6 jewels around a pink star. This spell allows me to pick 2 Harmony Guardian monsters from my deck. You choose one of them to add to my hand, and the other goes face up in my extra deck. Sunset tapped her dual disc screen. I pick Harmony Guardian Magnanimity and Harmony Guardian Pietas! The girl's pages flipped up and display images of the 2 monsters. Twilight closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. I doubt it matters, but I choose Pietas for your hand. Why would it not matter? Sunset replied. Twilight's response was to open her eyes and wait. Sunset's dual disc ejected the card as he picked it up. Whatever, never mind then. I activate Harmony Guardian Pietas in my anti-pendulum zone! A call of light rose behind Sunset again. In it hovered a warrior in pale blue armor, his place designed in swirling curves, a long spear with a jagged blade over her back. I activate the pendulum effect of Pietas. Once per turn, with another Harmony Guardian in my other pendulum zone, Pietas can target and destroy one face-down spell or trap card in the field. Sunset pointed. I choose the left face-down! The card flipped over and rose up, revealing Glorious Illusion. Pietas held up his hands and fired a blast of lightning into the card, sharing it. Twilight frowned as he looked at the card from her dual disc and discarded it. That card could have revived one of my Lightsworns. Really? Sunset let out a breath. Lucky guess for me, then. If you say so, Twilight muttered. Sunset narrowed her eyes but didn't respond. As he picked the card from her hand and sent it onto her dual disc. I summon Harmony Guardian Magia! In front of Sunset materialized the purple-skinned warrior, her armor forming a 6-point crest of spikes on her back. She reached back to take hold of the staff on her back and brought it forward, a pink crystal on the tips glowing. Attack points 1500. Sunset looked across at Twilight. Does he even recognize what that card is? True, it was an armored warrior in purple armor, but the overall aesthetic was immediately recognizable as Twilight Sparkle. The other Twilight noticed the similarity, she didn't show it. Her expression was the same as before, mildly irritated. And now I call upon the power of my pendulum scales! Sunset extended a hand in the air. Using the Scale 3 Vricius and Scale 5 Pietas, I pendulum summon! Swirling a portal opened between the 2 columns of light. From the extra deck, Anisas, Benjamin, and Garcia, I summon you back to the field! The 3 streaks of light shot out of the portal and struck the ground before sunset, fading to reveal her 3 monsters. So, that's how Pendulum's monsters work. Twilight raised her eyes and looked between the 2 monsters, floating in the air above sunset. When they leave the field, they go to the extra deck face up instead of the graveyard. Then, when you conduct a pendulum summon, you can summon those face-up pendulum monsters back to the field. Yep, as long as I have 2 monsters in the pendulum zones, with pendulum scales that their levels fall between. In the card in your pendulum zones, they are considered spell cards, not monster cards. One of those card zones? Yep, that about sums it up. Sunset nodded and allowed herself a spark. Cool, huh? Twilight's head snapped down and glared at her. I was going to say it flies to the defiance of this game's established rules, but I can tell that isn't a concern to you. Says I expressed a shower. Be that way. Since I just special summoned Harmony Guardian monsters, the effects of Magnemy and Magia that were already on the field activate, and I'll use them in that order. We're solving backward. Mazia's effect lets me take a spell card from my graveyard, put it on top of my deck. I'll take back Harmony Shock. Then, Magnemy's effect lets me draw a card. Sunset picked up Harmony Shock and placed it on her deck. Then immediately took it back out and put it back onto her dual desk. I activate the spell card, Harmony Shock again, and use it to destroy Wolf by returning one of my Magnemities to the extra deck. Magnemy dissolved into crystalline sparkles. Electricity generated between them and fired out to shock Wolf. The beast exploded in a shower of sparks. All right! From the stands, framed up behind her and whooped. That's how you do it! Verity smiled. Well done, indeed. Give him what's for. You got it. Sunset thrust her fin in the air, donning a confident smile. I have 4 monsters ready to attack, and I'm not holding back. Lowering her elevated hand, she pointed towards Twilight's monster. Harmony Guardian Anistas! Attack Lavinia! Anistas swung a broadsword behind her and then charged. Twilight put her hand on her dual disc and tapped. I activate my trap card, Lightsworn Barrier. A field of white light manifested over Lumia. With this card in the field, each time one of my Lightsworn monsters is attacked. I negate that attack by sending 2 cards from the top of my deck to the graveyard. Anistas' sword struck the barrier over Lumia. It was flung back, landing in front of Sunset. My trap is continuous, so any other attacks you try will be negated as well, Twilight said, though I will still need to pay the cost to use its effect. That's exactly what she wants, too, Sunset bit her lip. That's her strategy. Keep sending her cards to the graveyard to set up plays. I'm not helping her. I end my battle phase. She reached to her hand. I activate the spell card Harmony Jewel. I return Harmony Guardian Gracia to the extra deck and draw a card. Sunset looked at her new card and turned the attention back to her dual desk. I then use the effect of Harmony Guardian Ricius and Harmony Guardian Magia to my hand. That will end my turn. Good. Twilight drew, withdrew her hand and raised her eyes to Sunset. Thank you for explaining the capabilities of pendulum monsters for me. I needed to confirm the mechanics before I could begin shutting down their usage. Sunset narrowed her eyes. How do you plan on doing that? One thing at a time. I activate Laminia's effect. Discard Shire, Lightsworn Spirit to refine my wolf. Laminia held out her hand and conjured a golden portal through which Wolf stepped. I then offer Laminia as tribute to summon Celestia, Lightsworn Angel! Laminia dissolved to the light to swirl the massive feathers. Then from the swarm came a winged warrior with long blue hair, holding a staff with a golden orb of light on the end. Attack points 2300. Celestia effects activates when I summon her by tributing a Lightsworn monster. By sending 4 cards from the top of my deck to the graveyard, I can destroy 2 cards on the field. Twilight lifted her head. I destroy the cards in your pendulum zones. Celestia held out her staff and fired 2 beams of light. The light struck Pietis and Rhesus, and they exploded in rays of golden energy. My pendulums, Sunset scowled. I can summon them back next turn, as long as I can set a new pendulum scale. On your next turn, maybe, but it's still my turn. Twilight reached the top of the screen of her dual desk. One of the cards discarded by Celestia was Lightsworn Judgment, which allows me to add a monster from my deck to my hand when it's sent to the graveyard. She raised her hand and looked between the 2 monsters. Next, I attack and destroy Hynesis with Celestia. Celestia pointed her staff again and fired a beam of golden light, piercing Hynesis. Then Wolf attacks Magnanimity. Wolf headed to his club and ran, slamming the Magnanimity and sending her flying into the air to shatter. Celestia's similar life points, 6,600. I set a card and end my turn. Twilight's deck, 19 cards. Twilight looked across at Sunset, switched her eyes back and forth. Your field is empty now. Maybe, but I've got an extra deck field of monsters ready to go. Sunset grew, and this is where the comeback starts. She held her hand in the air. I activate the field spell, Harmony Academy! The ground behind Sunset cracked and split open. A large crystalline schoolhouse rose behind her, its banners and doors bearing a crest with 6 colored jewels around a pink star. It finished rising into place with a thud, crystal simmering. With this field spell in play, once per turn, if I have no cards in my pendulum zones, I can place one of the monsters in my extra deck in the pendulum zone, but its effects are negated for that turn. Sunset reached her extra deck and withdrew a card. I'll take Harvey Guardian Magnanimity and place her into the Pendulum Zone. And I'll follow that by placing Matia from my hand into my other Pendulum Zone. Sunset looked up as her two monsters floated to place above her. And now, with the pendulum scale set, I pendulum summon! Her extra deck glowed as her hand hovered above it. From my extra deck, I pendulum summon Hardy Guardians Gracia, Magnanimity, Retius, PSS, and Anises! Her two pendulum monsters held their hands out and conjured a swirling portal between them. No, you don't. Sunset lowered her head. What? Twilight pressed her finger to her Duelist screen. I activate my trap card, Vanquishing Light. Her card flipped up and lit up the white light. By offering a Light Storm monster as tribute when you attempt to summon monsters, I negate the summoning and destroy them. Twilight raised her eyes to look at Sunset. I offer Wolf as a tribute and negate your pendulum summon. Wolf was drawn back into the hologram of the trap. The trap condensed into an orb of light that shot across the field, rose into the portal Sunset summoning. The portal shone and exploded, rays of light shining from the dust. Sunset grit her teeth as she watched the portal's remains fade. Fine, but unless you plan to draw another copy of that trap, I'll just perform another pendulum summon next turn and I'll be back. Twilight's eyes shook her head. I barely even understand how those cards work, yet I seem to know more about them than you do. What do you mean? Sunset snapped. Look at your duel desk and find out. Sunset lowered her eyes and saw her would-be summoned cards sliding into her graveyard slot from the extra deck's compartment. Why are they being discarded? It's a basic rule of summonings. Twilight pushed her glasses up her nose, her eyes closed. As you said, when a pendulum monster would otherwise be sent from the field to the graveyard, it goes to the extra deck instead. However, the rulings of the negation of a monster's summoning states that when a monster has its summon negated, it's considered to have been in place of the origin at that time of the negation. Twilight opened her eyes. Your pendulum monsters were in the extra deck when you tried to summon them. I negated that play. Thus, when they are now destroyed, they are sent to the graveyard like any other card would be. Sunset's eyes widened. But I had 5 of them. Yes, you did. And in overextending yourself so recklessly, you made yourself vulnerable to a counterplay. Twilight shook her head. That's the error in high risk, high reward play styles. Inevitably, the risk fails to deliver on the reward. I don't need you to lecture me how to play. Very well, continue your turn. I will. Sunset looked at her hand and scowled. I would if I had any good moves to make. This is my only card left. She sighed and looked at her card. I set a monster at defense mode. Then I used the pendulum effect of Magia to return a Harmony Jewel to my hand. Sunset took her card from the graveyard slot, looked down at it, and took a breath. That's all. I end my turn. Twilight drew and watched Sunset evenly. I'm actually disappointed. About what? I expected to win this duel, but I was anticipating more of a challenge before we got to that point. Sunset's eyes widened, narrowing into a glare. What did you say? You merely took 2 cards to completely derail your pendulum strategies and wipe out your field. You have exhausted your resources too quickly, and have very little ways of recovering them. The only card left in your hand is Harmony Jewel. You can't afford to give up a monster in your current state. You'll have no options left once the cards on your fields are gone. Twilight reached her hand, and I have just the means to make it happen. She held the card in her hair. I bind together the power of 4 Light Sword monsters with different names in my graveyard in order to special summon Judgment Dragon. The dark clouds overhead flashed, and a shadow form flew out from them. Rays of light pierced the clouds and illuminated a massive white dragon. It landed in the field behind Twilight with a thud and roared. Attack points 3,000. Twilight raised her hand and snapped her fingers. I pay 1,000 life points to activate Judgment Dragon's effect. Every card on the field other than Judgment Dragon itself is destroyed. Judgment Dragon's mouth glowed brightly. Particles of light were gathering in its maw. It snapped, its head down, and fired. Streaks of light swarming the field, such that pendulums were struck and destroyed. While a face-down card flipped up to reveal Gracia, who was shattered by its light hitter. Light blasted through the walls of Harmony Academy, and the crystal structure collapsed into the dust. On Twilight's field, Celestia and the card hologram of Light Sword Barrier were hit, burst into shining particles. Twilight points, 7,000. Sunset stared at her, mouth hanging open. How could you? Even with no extra deck monsters to summon, your pendulum monsters are a concern. I wasn't about to leave them in play in case you... You think I care about that? Twilight frowned and paused her explanation. Sunset's face twisted in disgust. You destroyed everything on that field! Yes, including your own cards! You have few monsters left in play to attack with, so my trap is irrelevant. And Celestia has no supportive effects after her initial summoning. I would have little uses for them if they remain in play, whereas Judgment Dragon's effect has cleared out your field. Compared to that, then, it's 2 cards at a sensible cost. Sunset's hand shook. How can you think that way? Say yes. That's not how a real duelist treats her cards! Oh, Twilight's lip curled. And how should a duelist treat her cards, Sunset? Should we make up our own cards and ask our friends to please let us use them, no matter how unfair it is? If you have something to say, then say it! Sunset snapped. Fine, I will. Twilight crossed her arms. You have no business playing duel monsters. You cheat and use fake cards to play, making up their powers as you go along. The most baffling part of it is that the students and teachers at your school let you get away with it. On the sidelines, Sunset's friends shared looks of confusion. Upstairs, Chris her head. How the heck does Twilight know those pendulums aren't real? Ain't no one but us supposed to be able to remember them. I'm a cheater, Sunset glared. You have no room to talk. I spent all day watching Crystal Prep duelists use cards that my friends and I can't hope to get our hands on. Never mind knowing how they work or how to counter them. She closed her fist. My cards symbolize the bonds I've forged with my friends. You're unique and special. They're proof of how far I've come. How far you've come? Look at your duel disc. You're supposed to be the best duelist this school has to offer, aren't you? For the way the cards stand now, you're about to lose in 4 turns. Your friend on the bets is barely even ranked, and she lasted almost as long as you against Sun and Zest, and did more damage to her before she lost. She peered closer at Sunset. I think this duel has been really revealing about you, actually. Without your team to support your plays, your deck ran out of steam and was shut down with barely any effort. You're not a champion, Sunset. You're a fraud. On the sidelines, Radiant Hope frowned. What are they talking about? She leaned over to the microphone, then stopped to Somber, calmly reached out his arm and clasped his hand over it. Sunset huffed. You accused me of cheating because I have cards you don't know about? And I say Crystal Prep is cheating for using your entire rule sets we don't know. What's the difference? That's not the same thing. Twilight scowled and stomped her foot. For one thing, we trained hard at Crystal Prep. We actually have to build our decks and get the cards for them. Same as Carolina High Duelists. Everyone who's here, from either school, has worked hard to refine their skills and make it this far. Except for you. You didn't earn a spot in this tournament. You faked your way on the top. No, I didn't. I can't, not anymore. Sunset sighed and looked down her dual disc. However I got these cards, they're all I have. She raised her head. You call me a cheater, Twilight, but this entire duel I've been playing you fair and square, just on my own skills. Is that so? Then it seems I'm right after all. Without trickery to help you win, you can't keep up with the rest of us. In which case, there is nothing left for you but play out this result. Twilight thrust her hand out. Judgment Dragon! Attack her directly! Judgment Dragon opened his jaws and channeled the light in his mouth. A beam of light fired across the field and watched over Sunset, sending her tumbling backwards. I end my turn by sending 4 cards from my deck to the graveyard via Judgment Dragon's effect. Twilight's deck, 14 cards. Sunset 0 life points. 3,600. Twilight lowered her dual disc. I only need to draw a monster with at least 600 attack points on my next turn, and it and my Judgment Dragon will end this duel. Draw and make your final move. Kneeling on the ground, Sunset's fingers dug into the grass. She stared at her hands, eyes narrowed. I can't lose. I can't. Why did you care? Twilight asked. You didn't bother to enter this tournament in the past years. Now that you're here, you complain we have the cards you can't measure up to. You made the choice to enter, and you could have walked away at any time. Why does the Friendship Cup suddenly mean so much to you now that when you've never entered before? Because, Sunset inhaled deeply, my friends are counting on me. They want to win this tournament. I have to win, for their sake. Their sake? Sunset's eyes widened. That voice. Do you really mean that, Sunset? Sunset slowly raised her head and saw the edge of her arena move in front of her. She grimaced to put a hand on a railing, closing her eyes. Yes, they're counting on me. If I lose this duel, From the looks of things, that's exactly what can happen. No, I could beat her. I can! Sunset took a breath. I could what? Sunset licked her lips. She cracked open her eyes and saw a single card on her field. Do you want to win, Sunset? Sunset swallowed heavily and nodded. I have to. What would you be willing to do for that victory? Anything. Sunset raised her eyes to look across the arena. Only shadows were there for her to see. And her only both alone in the darkness, she looked back at her field and the single card there. Do you know what you have to do? A bead of sweat rolled down Sunset's face, her breathing heavy, her chin quivering. She slowly reached out to her hand. For my friends! She clenched her eyes, let her hand fall on the card. Rays of red light shone up between Sunset's fingers, and the card began to smoke and crackle. Twilight frowned. Sunset? In the stands, Carolina High and Crystal Prep students alike were whispering to each other. Sunset was kneeling on the grass, her head down. Is she giving up? Whiteside whispered. Randy pursed her lips. That poor dear. She did her best. Celeste looked at her phone. It's been almost 2 minutes. She looked over her table. Summer removed his hand from the microphone and looked at Hope, giving her a nod. She leaned closer to it. Sunset Simmer has 30 seconds to take her turn. If she does not, we will deem this a massive surrender and victory. A pillar of flame erupted around Sunset. Mossy soon screamed. Twilight's breath caught. She took a step back. Sombra's eyes widened and he snapped to the field. The flames faded, embers glowing in the air. The grass around Sunset was scorched black in a perfect circle, smoke rising a billow away. Sunset stood up, her head down, hair billowing, lifted her arm above her head. The embers and smoke whirled about her, drawn to her deck. Sunset slowly raised her head, hair whipping around behind her. Pinky whimpered, Guys, tell me you're not seeing what I think I seen. I wish I could, Pinky. I really wish I could. Brady's hands took her lap. I remember those eyes. Twilight gaped. Sunset? Eyes glowing bright red. Sunset lowered her arm and put a hand on her deck. My turn. She didn't look away from Twilight as she drew her card and flipped it over. She placed it on her dual disc. Activate spell card. Infernal Harmony! 2 light attribute monsters, Harmony Guardian monsters from my graveyard are banished. The holograms of Gracia and Arisias flew out of Sunset's dual disc and dissolved. Then, 2 dark attribute Guardian monsters are added to my hand. Ridiculous of red, and shuffled the cards ejecting from the top. Sunset grabbed her cards and held them out. The glow in her eyes intensified as he spoke. Using the Scale 3 Harmony Guardian Capaccio and the Scale 9 Harmony Guardian Inferior Surplus. I set the pendulum scales. She swung her hand down and placed the hands on her disc. Pillars of light red and teal erupted from the ground beside her. And the red pillar was a warrior woman in gold armor, sealed a sword in her hand, red and yellow hair flowing down her back. In the teal field was a warrior in green and purple armor, a helmet forming a visor across her eyes. A flail with fine metal discs for a head hung on her hip. Using the cards in my pendulum scales, I can now special summon monsters between their scale levels from my hand or face up on my extra deck. Sunset thrust her hand up. Pendulum summon! Come forth, my monster servants! A cracking portal opened over her head, and streaks of light shot in the field. From the extra deck, Harmony summon Guardian Gracia, Harmony Guardian Immunity, and Harmony Guardian Magia. I summon you in defense mode! Streams of light advanced, and Sunset's 3 monsters appeared, kneeling in front of her. Sunset stared at Twilight, her eyes bright red. I now tune my level 4 Harmony Guardian Infernal Junipress with my level 4 Harmony Guardian Gracia! What? Twilight shook her head. You can't. Monsters in the Pendulum Zones are considered spell cards. They can't. Harmony Guardian Infernal Junipress' special ability. Sunset interrupted coldly. When it is my Pendulum Zone, I can conduct a Synchro Summon, using Junipress at a level 4 Harmony Guardian on my side of the field. Junipress turned into 4 glowing green rings and began to encircle Gracia. Sparks appeared crackling between them. The rings caught fire, and Gracia lit up in a bright red aura. Glorious to the Guardians of Kindness and the fallen Guardian of Inspiration, and opened the dimensional gates to call upon the harshness of dark musicians! The rings circling Gracia contracted around, and column flame erupted between them. Like Sunset's eyes flared up. Synchro Summon! Awaken! Level 8! Harmony Guardian! Inferno Entity! Attack points 2300. The flamethrower received revealed a creature hovering in the air. Leathery purple wings keeping it aloft. It was a female humanoid being, skin purple and covered by violet, dark green armor, with a silver star on his shoulders and gloves. A red gemstone set in the middle of his breastplate gleamed brightly. Long purple hair flowed behind it. Streaks of silver light shooting down the stands. Laura held up her arms, and a massive trident appeared in her hand. Crackles of purple energy shooting down between the tips. As the new secret monster slowly lowered to the ground behind Sunset, Twilight stared up at it in shock, mouth hanging open. This is impossible. She lowered her eyes to Sunset. How are you doing this, Sunset? Her eyes pulsing with red light. Sunset's response was to curve her lips in a cruel smile.